Hi, thank you for signing up for my Ayurvedic Basics course. I wanted to just let you know what these series of videos are going to be like. I want to introduce to you this life science. The word Aryu and Veda means basically the science of life, and how your body has a lot of information to tell you about your health. And if we could learn how to listen to that information, we could really up level kind of how we're living and bring more vigor and vitality into our lives. So it's going to be a series of videos from me, slideshows, and some kind of journal prompts to get you going, and then an invitation to work further if this has all been interesting for you. To start today, I wanted to just give you some basics, and I'm going to screen share a slideshow that I created. This is always the part that takes me a minute. There we go. All right, welcome. My basics of Ayurveda. Let's go to slide 2. What is Ayurveda? So a holistic health science that originated in India, possibly up to 5,000 years ago. Although most of the Ayurvedic texts that have led to modern Ayurveda are around 3,000 years old. So they call it the oldest continually practiced healthcare system in the world. And that's really important because this is not illness care. It is health care. It is understanding right to the basics how we take care of our health so that we don't have to take care of our illness. And that's what I love so much about it. So Sanskrit language is like Latin. It is a dead language that nobody speaks anymore, but there is so much richness in it that you can go back to Sanskrit texts the same way that you can go back to Latin texts and decipher information that just seems to have a lasting imprint in society. So Ayu means life, Veda is knowledge, and this is the knowledge of life, the science of life and longevity. So it really focuses on living in harmony with the rhythm of nature and knowing that there's a cycle to everything. So there's a cycle to the seasons, there's a cycle to our lifespan, there's a cycle to our day. And if we can understand what each part of the day is meant to offer us, what each part of our life is meant to offer us, then we can sync in with that cycle and enjoy the efficiency that it offers us. So the Charakra Samhita is one of the Ayurvedic texts, and this is where a lot of information will come from. And I don't really go into the ancient texts at all because I'm really interested in trying to translate all of this into something that is edible and digestible in our modern age. So if you really are interested in the ancient texts, you're going to have to find those on your own. So we really want to maintain the health of each person and cure the diseases of the patient. The utility of the science is to maintain the health of the healthy individual and cure the disease of a patient. It's fascinating because Ayurveda gives us information about the real pre-stages of disease in a way that Western medicine doesn't really speak to, and talks about symptoms even before Western medicine can really prescribe any sort of antidote for them, medicine for them. Ooh. So this is called the 3 pillars of health in Ayurveda. Ahara is nourishment, Nidra is sleep, and Brahmacharya is vital energy management. So we think about our health in terms of how are we nourishing ourselves? And the amazing thing about Ahara is that that speaks to food. It also speaks to the company you keep. It speaks to the information that you digest. It speaks to the lifestyle that you live. Like, how do you nourish your body? With food, with care, with comfort, with love, with information, fueling your desires and passions. Like, it's so much more than just diet. Nidra is the importance of sleep and the absolute prioritization of ensuring that you get good sleep. And then brahmacharya, the ancient translation of this word would actually be abstinence. And that idea of withholding, allowing energy to build up within you because you are withholding it from the outside world. You're abstaining from the outside world. In modern days, we've started to talk about it more in terms of energy management, like understanding if you spend your energy doing X, you may not have it available for Y. If you want to do PQS, whatever, if you want to do something, then perhaps you're going to have to take care of Ahara and Nidra so that that energy is available for you. And it talks about how to grow the energy so that, you know, every day you have enough to be able to do all the tasks that you are so excited about creating in your life. I like that. I like the idea that health is really holistic. It's really looked at from a whole bunch of different perspectives. So we go into a little bit into yoga here too, because yoga starts to look at the sheaths of our being. It starts to look at all the layers of you and not just look at your physical body. We care about all of it. So these are the 5 layers of your body. The physical body is your Annamaya Kosha, and this is the cells, the tissue, the arms, the legs, the heart, the lungs, your eyes, your hair, everything. It's the physicalness of your body. It is your container, really, of all of the other parts of your being. So the breath body is what vitalizes your physical body. It is what brings life into your physical body, right? If you are not breathing, you're dead. So this breath body is essential to your well-being, which is why breath is something that yoga takes so seriously. We watch the breath, we learn from the breath, we see what the breath is telling us, and we use those cues to help us make decisions, which is so amazing because it is what vitalizes our living body. It makes sense that we would pay attention to this layer of our being. Number 3 is our mental emotional body. This is our intellectual body, or Manomaya Kosha. So I almost feel like in our culture, we have just even taken the emotional side of things out and decided that the most important thing is our mental body. We have prioritized that over all other layers, that you have to develop your mental competence, and that's the most important thing. Our Ayurveda yoga says yes, and that's just one tool in the wisdom of your body. Your mental competence is one absolutely wonderful, capable, able way for you to make decisions and drive your life. But if it is done in concert, in symphony with the other layers of your wisdom, of your being, then you'll have so much more. The words that start to come are karma, right action. Like you'll start to make right decisions about what your dharma, your life purpose is calling out from you if you start to work from all 5 layers of your being. The next one is intuitive body. So this is where we say things like your gut instinct, your intuition, everything that sort of you know it, but you don't know how you know it. It's just something in you that tells you what's right, what's wrong, what you need to be scared of, what you absolutely delight in. It helps to show you immediately, based in a really internal system of knowing, right, what you need in your life. And this one has been completely undervalued. And yet there's so much new scientific documentation coming out. Even Malcolm Gladwell's book, Blink, talking about how just making a decision sort of in the blink of an eye can often be the right decision, because when you don't let the brain get involved, when you don't let the emotions get involved, your intuitive body knows the answer, and it can help you navigate. So fascinating, fascinating. The fifth one is the bliss body, the Anandamaya kosha, and this is where all of the other layers sort of distill down to. It is your core, your epicenter. It is the place where the divine resides within you. Perhaps you might say it's God. You might say it's the Atman. You might say it's Mother Earth. You might say cosmos, universe. I don't know, something. This is something that connects us to all other life. It is something that connects us to ourselves. And it is something that also recognizes that you are so much more than your individual physical body, your breath, your mental emotional body, your intuitive body. You are part of a bigger picture. So it's almost a recognition of this bliss body of a wholeness, that some of the things that we work on and stuff are a little bit more petty. You know, like we don't need to have so much judgment over our physical body because it's unimportant in the bigger scheme of things. I mean, not unimportant because our physical body has to house all these layers, and if it's incapable of housing us, then we don't get very much done in life. But this bliss layer invites us to think about things on a whole new level. So good. So in order to help us understand the fact that we can understand our bodies on these 5 levels, that we can think about yoga more holistically, it offers us some tools to be able to get some comprehension, to start to listen to our bodies. And listening to our bodies is something that we're not very good at doing. And so Ayurveda gives us vocabulary to start to be aware of where we could be watching for little signs, little symptoms, little communications from our body that we could fine tune and balance in order to find health. So they describe everything in terms of opposing pairs. We call them gunas, and each pair exists on a continuum. So think of 2 ends of a teeter-totter, 2 ends of a seesaw, up and down, right? Some of the most common ones in Ayurveda are hot and cold, heavy and light, fast and slow, or sharp and slow and dull, smooth and oily, or dry and rough. These are qualities that are a part of the language of Ayurveda. And once we start to see through this lens, then we can see the tips and the nudges and the little prompts that our body is giving us to help lead us towards better vitality. Ooh, so here they are. Here they are. I want you to move to the right side of your screen right now and look at the 3 forces, the doshas. So movement is required in your body, the movement of air, the movement of digestion, the movement of blood, the movement of lymph, the movement of everything, right? Has to move through your body, the movement of your thoughts, the movement of your limbs to activate walking. There is movement required. Transformation is your digestive system. It's the ability for your body to take things in and to separate out what is good and necessary and we're going to keep to nourish us, and what is unnecessary and we are going to release, right? Every breath you take, your body is doing this. It is transforming what it draws in from the air, keeping what it needs, and then going through the body and releasing all the waste material, releasing on your exhale what your body no longer needs. The next one is nourishment. So this is your body accepting the nourishment that has been drawn out in that transformation process, and then using it to build new tissue, using it to build new cells, using it to fix cuts and scrapes, to alleviate aches and pains, to assist you in your growth and your healing. And if we look at the words associated with these 3, vata, pitta, kapha. These three words start to inform the three constitutions in our body. So the three main ways that our body operates in the world. Usually you are predominant in one of these forces and the other two aren't as prevalent in your unique makeup, but often you have two, or often your mental dosha, your mental force that is most active in your body is different than, say, your physical one. So we look at this. We look at this in terms of how we can help you understand balancing in your own body. The five great elements speak to the doshas. So ether and air. Ether, think about your thoughts. Think about, sound waves. The larynx creating sound and your ears enabling you to hear and decipher sound. Think about the thoughts that move through your head and the ability for your body to absorb knowledge when it hears things that it wants. It hears, it sees, it feels, it tastes, it touches, it smells. It's always deciphering through your sense organs. And air. So this is part of touch, part of your lungs, so think of the part of your body associated with air and ether is your lungs and your brain, right? This is where the movement is happening. This is also associated with vata. So people who are predominantly vata have lots of movement in their thoughts. They have lots of movement in their physical body. They might be very flexible. And this is how we start to see your predominant dosha, is we start to think about it in terms of the elements. Transformation, go to fire, tejas, diligent practice, a little bit of willpower, the ability to just transform and get things done, follow through. This is where fire comes from. You have the burning desire, you have the spark of ingenuity, you have the capability to burn through some hard work, right? Listen to some of those words, how they're associated with the word fire. And people who have more fire tend to have more pitta in their constitutions. It can also be fiery appearance, right? That person's really hot. It can also be your attitude. Like when you've got a lot of fire, it can come out pretty sharp, pretty penetrating. It can burn people when your words are too fiery. You have to sort of watch that. One thing my daughter and I have come to learn is that fire should stay in your belly, because when it gets too big, you start to breathe fire, and that's not fun for anyone, especially in our house. Good. So think about then the next ones, water and earth. Water can also be pitta, just the ability to flow through things, the ability to just move as you need to. Think about how a fire moves. Think about how a stream moves. It moves through obstacles. It is not stopped by things, right? So there's a little bit of that flow that happens with pitta as well. I usually, though, think of water as part of kapha. So earth and water, they're heavier, they're nourishing, they are what is required to grow anything. It is the part of us, our pelvis is the water, our legs are the earth, and they are stable. They are where our strength is derived from, where our ability to stand and be solid and move. All of that comes from the growth potentials of earth and water mixed together. Think of how when you mix earth and water together, it's muddy, it's solid, it's grounded. So when we start thinking of these terms, we start to be able to say, okay, in your body, do you need a little bit more movement in your thoughts? Are they feeling really maybe heavy and depressed and slow right now? Or are your thoughts spinning, mobile, can't land on one, anxious, stressed, too busy, right? And then we say, okay, based on that, what would we apply? Do you need more earth just to sort of settle you down, bring you down to earth? level you out? Or do you need a little bit more fire to lift you up? Do you need us to bellow some air into things so that your thoughts feel like they can move again? They lift up from wherever they have been seated and still. I love just being able to think about these things because it gives us this really beautiful way to examine how we are sitting in our own balance, right? We can't ever just be sitting in balance. So we just need to think about, okay, what correction is necessary right now? So on the far left side of the screen then is the 20 gunas, the spectrum or pairs of opposites. And this is an even one level deeper. How are we thinking about things? Some of them are so easy. Are you feeling cold? Okay, well then could you put on another layer? Could you add a pair of socks? Could you make yourself a warm drink? Could you have a bath? Should you wrap a blanket around yourself? Like simple, simple things. Are you feeling too hot? Oh, should you have a cool drink? Should you go in the shade? Should you, like help yourself out? Should you take a layer off? Ayurveda says this is the first level of finding health, is listening to these tiny, tiny cues from our body. Oily and dry. Well, where we live, dry is a never-ending problem. We're always trying to create a little bit more hydration in our bodies. So if you're feeling dry, what do you need? Do you need to put on some chapstick? Do you need to put some oil on your skin? Should you try and drink more water? What is necessary to offset that dryness? Heavy and light, gross and subtle. So I sometimes think big and small, like what is really obvious and what is the more subtle, nuanced piece of this. Dense or liquid, soft or hard, static or mobile. This is a big one, the static mobile. Our society is a very mobile society. We move around a lot and we get information instantaneously. So our thoughts are disrupted many times in even 1 minute with new information, new thoughts, constantly trying to digest. So do we actually just need to add some stability, some static, some stillness? So fascinating. Perhaps if we just added a little bit of stillness to our lives, then our body would be able to handle the mobility that we live with. Think of sticky and clear, slimy, rough, slow, sharp. We dive into all of these qualities as we start to understand Ayurveda. So one side, the kapha side, is catabolic. It's building. It is promoting growth in your body. One side is anabolic, reducing, breaking down, transforming. So the catabolic side is your kapha side. The anabolic side is reducing, breaking down side. And then the vata is the movement that helps either one of them do what they need to do, either the breakdown process or the build up process. Ether, air, I've got it in blue there because it's vata. Fire and water, but for the most part, fire is your pitta, and then water and earth are your kapha elements. This is how we start to think about balancing in our body. So you do need to know that you have all three. You need all three in your body. So you're not going to be 100% vata person or 100% pitta or 100% kapha. You are going to be a little bit of all of them. But how your body is uniquely created from these three energies has to be considered. Vata is our energy of movement. Pitta is our energy of heat and transformation. Kapha is the energy of nourishment. We need to understand our metabolism, right? Are we catabolic? Are we anabolic? How is that happening? So vata, because it's movement, it tends to be a very irregular metabolism. Sometimes it's very up, sometimes it's very slow. It tends to be a little bit irregular. Pitta, metabolism is hot and fast. Kapha, metabolism is slow and steady. This is me telling you a little bit more about each dosha. So most people are dual doshic, meaning that you have a strength in possibly 2 of the doshic areas. Sometimes you will have a different mind dosha from your body dosha. So you could have a very vata body, a very thin, slight, light body, but you could have a very fiery mind, very fiery emotions. You could also have a very kapha body, like a heavy, stable, solid body, but your mind is busy, it's anxious, it's full of creativity. So once we start to speak this language, we start to notice which tendencies pull us out of balance. And we call these your yellow lights. It's almost like your body's first warning signs that something isn't quite right. And when we can understand what the first signals are that things aren't quite right in our body, then we can start to respond to those early warning signs in our body. And it just gives us a lens into our energetic self. So it gives us a lens, a filter through which we can see ourselves with more awareness. I'm going to go into that part. So I wanted to invite you in this series to just start to decode what you think you might be. And as we move through the series, start to notice what you feel like your dominant qualities might be and where your body shows you most easily where you are in balance and where you are out of balance. Enjoy this series and reach out if you need any support as you're going through the videos.